Hey guys, we're back with story number 3. My name is Cindy and this is my YouTube channel. Alright, so story number 3 starts off with me leaving from my motel. That was story 2. My parents had to temporarily live in a motel, and I shared some stuff about what happened when I lived there, and ultimately we ended up getting kicked out and we moved into the apartment complex that I'm about to tell you about. So this apartment complex was in Houston. It was in not the greatest area of Houston. There was a lot of crime, a lot of drugs, a lot of alcohol. Most of my neighbors were hardcore into drugs and alcohol. So we moved into this apartment complex and we ended up moving in there with my uncle. And I ultimately think that was a financial problem. They didn't really have the money to afford the apartment, so he moved in to kind of chip in. And it was a 2-bedroom apartment. So I shared a room with my parents. Which was not ideal. It was very disturbing. And then my uncle had the other room, of course. And so I remember moving in the very first day. You know, we didn't have a lot of stuff. Like I said, we had just came from a motel, so we didn't really have a lot of belongings. We didn't have beds. We didn't have a couch. We had no TV, no nothing in the living room. We really were starting from scratch. Like, the only thing we had was some sheets and blankets and pillows. And my mom made us a cot in my room. And the very first day we were there, you know, the foot traffic in my house was actually crazy. There was a ton of people coming in my house. They were going in and out. I didn't really understand who most of these people were. I think they were friends with my uncle. I'm not really sure. But my mom put me to bed that night, and the next morning, me and my mom woke up to a police officer. He woke us up, and I remember sitting up, and he was literally right in front of me, and he was asking me what my name was and who my parents were and if I knew anybody, if I knew their friends, and was asking me questions about the people that was there the day before. And I didn't really know anything because I didn't know these people. And I honestly don't know what was going on. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with drugs. I believe that somebody may have turned them in, or something went down and somebody was mad and it went that way. Anyways, so the very first night I lived in this apartment complex, I was woken up to a cop. And I was always terrified when I was around the cops, especially because the first experience I had was with me putting my mom in jail, basically. That was story number 1, if you want to go watch it and you haven't. Anyways, so it was pretty terrifying for me, you know, like I wanted to be honest, but I also was taught that what happens in our house stays in our house, so I wasn't allowed to tell a whole lot of information, which does put a lot of responsibility on a child. And I don't think parents realize that, but children take on way more than parents really think that they do. Unless I was a weird exception. But anyways, so that happened. Like I said, I don't really know what it was about. I do know that my uncle had to go to jail for a few days, and I don't know what happened with that story. So that was what I woke up to, though, in the very first day of moving to my apartment complex. I think it was a few days before Christmas. So like I said, we didn't have anything. It was a very sad time. More than likely, I probably got something from my grandparents, though, and my aunt, who is amazing, and my other aunt, who is amazing, and I guess I should probably give them names, so I'll call them Sammy and Joellen. Sammy and Joellen were the 2 people in my life who always came to my rescue anytime my parents got in trouble or they were fighting a lot. Sammy or Joellen would come and pick me up, and that was honestly the best parts of me being a child. I was never so happy ever, except for when I seen them. Like, I'm telling you guys, they made my whole world light up. It was a totally different feeling when I went over to their house. They had, they had safe homes and they didn't do drugs or alcohol, so it was wonderful to be around them. But they were always my savior, and I am so glad to this day that I had them in my life and that I still have them in my life. They are both very important to me, and I love them with all of my heart. But anyways, I totally got off topic again, and so this apartment complex wasn't really the best place to live. Like I said, most of my neighbors were into drugs and alcohol too. There was always police officers there at the apartment complex. In the parking lot, somebody was always getting arrested. So I saw that a lot as a child, and now as an adult, it doesn't seem that scary, like watching someone get arrested. But when I was a child, it was honestly terrifying. And every time I heard the sounds of the sirens going off, I would get this knot in my stomach because I was always scared that they were going to be coming to my door. And that's a really horrible thing for a child to go through. I myself now have 2 children, and when they hear the sound of sirens, they just know that something's happening and the police officers have to go help. There's no sense of worry. There's no issues of safety. They know that they're safe and protected, and that's one of the greatest things I can give them, is the feeling of being safe. Anyways, it's just, it's really hard to think about back then, think about the things that I went through. For example, I'm going to tell you guys a story that happened while I was there. I don't remember how old I was. This is probably out of age order, so don't hold me to my age or anything, but I know I was under 8 years old because once I was 8, we moved away from there. But there was this little boy who I always went toe to toe with. He did not like me. I did not like him. He was always arguing with me. He was rude. He would always tease me when we were in the parking lot outside. And one day he stuck his tongue at me. So I was little, and just instinct, someone sticks their tongue at you, you stick it back. So I stuck my tongue at him, and his mother saw me. She then proceeded to start screaming at me and telling me that I was a white piece of trash, and that white pieces of trash belong in the trash can. So she then picked me up and took me over to the apartment community trash can, and she threw me in it and shut and locked the door. On the big trash cans, they have that big door that you can slide. So she locked me in the trash can. I just remember crying and screaming because I was terrified. I kept thinking that I was going to get smashed by the garbage truck. And my mom finally came and she found me. She got me out. I just remember her freaking out and saying that I could have died because there were dirty needles in the trash can, and how dare her do that. And next thing I knew, they were in the parking lot fighting it out. But yeah, I actually got thrown in a trash can. That was my life, though. That's like stuff that happened on a daily basis, which is just insane. I was an innocent child and I did not deserve any of it, and I get it. My parents didn't have a lot of money and they tried to do the best that they could with what they had. But maybe if they weren't doing so many drugs and alcohol, maybe I would have been a priority and we would have been able to live somewhere with a little bit more safety. Maybe I wouldn't have had to see the type of people that I seen. I wouldn't have had to see all the abuse and the fighting. And when I say this, I mean, like, I have watched my neighbors literally beat people down with a baseball bat. I've seen them use their hands. I've seen them use rocks. I've seen them use boards, tools that they've gotten out of their trucks, and all sorts of things. And that kind of stuff you just don't come back from. That stuff sticks with you, and children soak it all in. And for some reason, some parents think that we're stupid. And I was not stupid. I knew way more than I ever should have known when I was that age. And I have a lot of hate towards my parents for that. It was very difficult for me. I did not like living over there, other than the fact that I did have a few friends that were decent. But that was my life. Around 5 years old. 4 or 5, give or take. But the whole moral of this story is sometimes you have to live in places that you don't want to live. And that's okay. But you have to learn to stay away from the bad. And you take everything that you do learn and you try to make it positive. And for me, I knew that when I grew up, I didn't want to live in a place like that. I knew that I wanted safety and security, and it made me really want nicer things in life. I wanted that great life. I didn't want to just settle. So from a young age, I knew that I didn't want this kind of life. I wanted a better life for myself. And this was just the beginning. There's so many things that I went through after this that just adds and adds and adds. And all of it was just so traumatic. And I carry it with me. And it's horrible. And I don't wish this on anybody. And I hope that me telling my story will get to somebody who understands and can kind of relate, there's so many people that have been through so many different things in their life, and I feel like if we all come together, we really will make a difference. And when you've gone through such traumatic stuff as a child, it goes with you forever, and it does change who you are as a person. And I think that all of it has definitely made me a better person, but it has also scarred me in ways that people can't imagine. And these scars are not physical, but they are mental. And it's a lot. It's a lot to carry. And I don't know, I wanted to tell the story so everyone can kind of get an idea of my background and how my parents were and what we were around, and just so you can get a total whole feeling of me and everything that I've been through as a person. And this story laid with me for a very long time. It's one of the things I do remember, so it's obviously was traumatic that I remember these specific events. And it honestly feels good to get it out there. It feels good to get it off my chest. I've only told probably a few people that story, maybe one or two. But like I said, I was taught what's said at home, what's done at home stays at home. What happens at your house stays at your house. So I carried all of this baggage around with me, and it did weigh me down. It weighed me down a lot. But it has ultimately made me a very stronger person, and I believe that I'm a better person for it, and I believe that I'm a better mom for it. Like I said, I have 2 beautiful children, and they are the best thing that ever happened to me in my entire life. And I take everything that I've been through as a child and I turn it around, and I make sure that my children have never had to have that kind of a life. And it has made me stronger, it has made me work harder, and it has made me appreciate so much more in life. And I hope that somebody can relate and this helps somebody. And I hope that I'm helping people realize that they can be stronger than they ever even realize that they can be. With that said, I think I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I don't want to make it too long, but there'll be more stories to come about me and the apartment complex, and they're not really that great. But I'll also share some happy memories, so it's not always just sad and depressing. But anyways, thank you all for listening to me, and I hope you come back and join me for story number 4. I'll look forward to talking to everyone again. See ya.